Hi, I'm Ian Matthews. This is Tango Tasters. This session is going to follow on from the previous taster, which looked at how to manipulate PowerPoint. The reason we're doing this in this way is because we've had a couple of questions asking for examples of what a complete manipulated PowerPoint session might look like. So to do that, I'm going to go through each stage of how I achieved a one I've prepared earlier style session. So Tango Tasters, I'm going to drop into the session itself, and you can see that I've got an image on the left and I've got what appears to be, and is effectively, a PowerPoint slide on the right. To bring this slide in, what I've done is I've left Tango in the first instance and had PowerPoint running, so I get all the nice graphics and all the specific elements of PowerPoint that I may have wanted to use. And then, because I have the side banner for Tango running as well, I snap something, go back to Tango, and it will appear here. So I've, in effect, brought it over here, pressed and held, I've cropped the element I want from it, which would have been the PowerPoint window, and I've placed it over here. So that's why I have that there. For the background, what I've done is, in effect, go to Content, File, and I have found a relevant image. So by finding the image of this one in the generic costume of a film noir, I've found the image. I'm going to use an example of this owl. Drag the image across, press and held, and set as background. By doing so, she appears there, whilst the PowerPoint slide still appears here. I've then duplicated this page by going to Pages, Duplicate, so that I get the same on the next page. So when I swipe, the same page is there, and again I've taken a snapshot of the second page of the PowerPoint and placed it here again. And then again. So in effect, all I'm doing is I'm swiping as if I'm in a PowerPoint. But there's an immediate difference to what this whole thing looks like. It doesn't feel like the same sort of PowerPoint that you might be doing just with Office. I do, however, want to talk about the idea of signs, glasses, bow tie, pocket protector could be suggestive of a nerd within film. Put a little example there with the PowerPoint, but if you think about it, I've already been giving examples of sign all the way through this presentation. It's hopefully being surreptitiously, if you like, introduced to the learners as we go through. So by the time I reach the fourth page, representation of women, they've already had something to rely on, something that's already been seeded in the minds. And when I say that within film noir especially, but across all cinema, we tend to work on the idea of beauty within narrow conventions, size, sexuality, emotional dealings and relationships. Because of the way this lady's been presented, that's what we're already aware of. This is now only reiterating that, that point. So, moving on from the previous part of the session where we've had PowerPoints on one side and we've had the image on the other in order to try and get people to think about what the background might represent, we now actually show more elements of that representation. We can move away from the PowerPoint entirely and have a video in the middle and the elements that the PowerPoint was talking about, editing, mise-en-scène, cinematography and sound, around the side. And that allows us, rather than going from the PowerPoint itself to a video player and back and forth using different programs on the PC, we can do everything in the same place. I can still bring in parts of the PowerPoint into this space if I need to and get revision parts as well as we go through it. But in this case, I just want to have a video where I can play, and as I go through different parts of the video, I can also annotate on this video. I want to be able to do things like add the rule of thirds that looks at different parts of a shot to identify the most important aspects of a frame. We can see the eye line being represented as to where this guy is looking, and the fact that it's near enough his mouth is probably what he's talking about is going to be representative, important, yeah? Same as who's listening to that part, and this is important. If I snap this, it will then take this from there, which I can then manipulate, and I can ask the learners, what element does this fit into? Is this a case of editing? Is it a case of how the camera's been put up? What's in the frame or the sound? Well, it's likely how the camera's been set up. So I can put that part of the image down there, and I can carry on with the film. So we can go through the parts that the previous page has shown by then giving examples here. The last page, once we've got all this full, is just the media studies exam text and a scaffold for how we might want to write it. So I'm just bringing in a PDF and a Word document in much the same way as I did with the PowerPoint. The way I'm going to use this is take the PDF, zoom in, and when I let go of it, it will re-render it so we can see it beyond full screen. I can go back and forth between pages from this banner here or through there. Now it says with the exam question it's related to an extract of the series Hustle, which isn't the case, it's Sin City. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to annotate on this. I'm going to go to white for the colour and change the line size a little. I'm then going to just effectively Tipp-Ex out that. And then in its place, I'm going to change the colour, change the line size and write Sin City. It's going to look a bit strange at that resolution, but when I drop back out of it again, you won't notice much difference. So we can then send that out to the learners. They could be then working from my annotated copy via the collaboration if we wanted to, or via the print. And then we're going to work through the gapped handout. I always ask if the learners have read these things when I hand them out to them, and they always say yes. They never have. Instead, to avoid that, I'm going to start cropping different parts of the paragraphs here with a tick plus and bring them out. And as I keep going through all of these, I can then ask the learners, are you sure you've read that? And I'll say, yeah, I've read that. Press and hold it then, and I delete it. I can then, with the layout, start playing around with where these things lie. So I can throw this everywhere and say, okay, well, you put them back into order then. If you knew exactly what this represented, then you should be able to put that back in order and get them to the screen to do so. This is just a PowerPoint. In effect, this is me taking all those elements of a PowerPoint, a PDF, a Word document, but just making it dance far more than when it would be if it were just a case of and next, and next, and next. So that's what I mean as compared to the previous Tango test session. That's how we can make it look really nice. You don't have to get this advanced this quick, but hopefully by seeing how to in the previous video and what it can look like in this, hopefully you guys can also make some really interesting sessions. And please, as always, if you can share them with us, we'd be more than happy to talk to you about them. And if you have any questions, please get in touch and we can continue to answer them. And that's Tango Tasters.